Welcome to another Motortown post-event race commentary. Today we got the Sports Retro Inline 4 event. Listen, this is one of mine. I try really hard to get interesting car engine combinations and find a set of fitting types for those, but when it comes to the event names, I just pick something random, something generic, and immediately forget about it again. So I hope that stuff won't happen when I ever have children. So yeah, anyways, I don't always remember the name of the event or the track or whatever, but here we are, first set of two, and it's gonna be quite interesting. I love these cars, these turn out to be really fun. So let's get the show on the road, let's get started, and let's talk a bit about something really special about this event, because we had technical difficulties. The event server just wouldn't boot up. Chess tried and tried, he couldn't get it up, and that gave me some performance anxiety, because that meant that we had to go into the main TWL server for this event, meaning that we are sharing this world with 47 players, and we are running this at 17 server FPS. Now it's down to 16. Not exactly ideal, but I hope it's gonna work out. I hope collisions won't be too bad, but yeah. If we can't get onto the separate event server, then this is kind of what we have to deal with. On the bright side though, this allowed a lot of people to join in spontaneously. There might be quite a few that are just on the Motortown server but not on the Discord, and therefore they might not even know that we are holding these events. But since we had to do the announcement on the server itself here, that got a few more people involved, so that's pretty interesting. Participation hasn't been the best recently, so this is nice to see, especially on the first slot, which is usually the most empty one. But yeah, I started in pole. I also managed to just not go into the flower banks where you can see how much everybody else is struggling behind me. I'm trying to solidify my lead here and just run away from the rest of the field. Let them fight amongst themselves and let me have first place here, please. It would be much easier to maintain my position if I didn't do stuff like that. The flower banks have been, of course, very much nerfed. Some, not even recently, it's been a while, but I still appreciate that change because it made everything a lot better. But they are still quite dangerous, which I think they should be, so gotta be careful there. Coming back around Olle Ring right here, which is also where we have a few people just standing on the sideline and watching. We got 3 up in front, which is another spectator that I'm trying to stay away from. Don't want to hit a tree here, no matter which material they are made out of. But yeah, after that abysmal last corner and this one not being too much better either, we got steam catching up. But everybody else seems to still be a decent distance away, so we might be able to battle it out for first position and then still stay clear of everybody else. That's at least my hope right now. When it comes to the cars, these are actually really amazingly fun. So we have some subclasses on TWL. We have the ultralights, which are the really light hatchbacks, and they can be a handful just to control with the inline 4 engine. They've gotten a bit better with recent handling updates, but yeah, they are a handful. You are definitely going to fight the car quite a bit. But the same engine in these just slightly heavier vehicles, it's a match made in heaven. So these sporty retro cars, they are a bit heavier. They are still nimble enough to really get a decent amount of power out of inline 4 engines, so they're not boring to drive, but they are also not just gonna drive themselves. It's still something that you have to be careful about, and it's a really nice balance. And one thing that I especially like is they can catch you off guard. You're gonna be really good in order to get a decent, consistent lap time out of them, or maybe drive a bit below the limit that you could otherwise go at. You're not just gonna be automatically going at the performance limit of that car and be having a good time. So it works out to something really amazing where you can still have some incidents that are going to mess up the field again. Unless you're like really far behind from the get-go, you're just gonna always have a chance to make up a few places here and there, or maybe lose them depending on your driving style. So coming back around the south end for the second time. Steam isn't even anywhere to be seen anymore. It apparently also just got taken over by Chessbot, so Steam is now in third position, Chess in second, and I'm a good ways away from all of them, so this is going very well. But yeah, as I mentioned, with these cars you gotta be a bit careful, and what I'm pretty sure caused this little thing is not just the potholes, but the fact that I went back onto the gas too early, too aggressively, and spinning out into the little ditch there took me a few more seconds to recover, so I'm now losing first place, second, and even falling back into fourth. But thankfully, Scrum right in front of me, who is also having Ruby Razor as a co-driver, has some engine or radiator damage, so I'm at least able to get the third position back, and yeah, in the end it wasn't too bad, but I definitely had a more solid lead beforehand, which is now completely gone. So coming back around to the end of the second lap over here. And this corner, I mean, it basically has two apexes. You don't really want to go for the first one, but going for the second one, really cutting in tight on that part before you straighten back out onto the main straight right here, would give you such a good acceleration boost and everything. I just don't think I'll be able to quite do it in this race. Maybe in the second set we will have to see. But yeah, we are now coming back around to the flower bank section. So once again, this is a really tricky corner that you gotta take right, and I'm just not doing it well, and this is what can happen. Completely spun out, took down one of the lampposts, tried to get back at least onto the paved section. Kinda cut off Scrum, who was also between the grass and the flower banks. I'm also now trying to just get back onto the road itself, but yeah, with Scrum being there, I was a bit too hesitant, and driving over the flower banks was not a good idea. Completely flipped me over, and I'm now falling down into 5th position. So yeah, this wasn't a good one. So yeah, falling back a bit with Wormy being behind me right now, who is usually somewhere around my pace depending on the situation. Might be a bit quicker, might be a bit slower, but usually not too far away in either direction. So in short, a person that I really don't want to battle with right now, because that could be a battle for the rest of the race, and I would rather try to catch back up to the people in front of me. Since Scrum has already shown some engine damage, I should be able to catch back up to them rather easily. Once again, overheating right in front of me, so that's not the hardest one to catch. And yeah, this is of course also the track that I showed in the past episode when we had an update, and I made the track right before that, where those roads that we have here right now, they used to be a bit more curvy and they got streamlined. So I made the track right before that update, and there you can see Steam also smoking through the exhaust and having the emergency lights on, so he's also not fully performant anymore, and therefore I can just overtake him like that, back into 3rd position. But yeah, I made an episode adjusting the checkpoints after that update, since I made the track right before that came out of nowhere. So this is the same one, and I don't think I've ever really used it before. I was planning on using it for a Formula SCM event, but that curve section was really nice in that kind, since that was gone. I was looking for um, another good one, good vehicle set to use it with, and this one turned out to be just that. But yeah, here we are. Last lap, third position, trying to not repeat the same mistake as last time. Also, I would like to use this moment to talk about the Stellar Cup, since right now we seem to be in a rather solid position. The thing with the Stellar Cup is, I mentioned a few times in the last videos that I was about to host the second set, but actually that turned out to not really happen. So Chess got the server up and running for the second set of the Stellar Cup. I got onto that server about half an hour before the event was supposed to be starting, and I even set up some food for the ARA supermarket so that I can open up the repair stations in town and that kind of thing. And then we just didn't really have anybody show up. There was one person joining the event, but that was it. So with just me and another person, I decided to call it off after waiting a bit longer than the time when the event was supposed to get started. I also pinged the Discord server, so yeah. It didn't really work out the way I wanted it to, but not really too much I could do about it, and in the end we ended up asking around a little bit on why that was the case. We had some declining numbers for the events recently, and it turned out it was a number of things. Other stuff was happening. It was the State of Play, Nintendo Direct, etc. weekend, so people were likely also just watching that. Some people weren't aware of the event or that it was happening on a separate server. I've completely forgot to go onto the main server and advertise that stuff, so that's also partially on me. But yeah, for this set we got Chess hosting it again, so we're gonna see how that one goes. But yeah, coming back around the last turn here, still in third position. And this is where we're going to end this race. But yeah, if you were looking forward to seeing the second set of Stellar Cup, it just didn't happen, so there isn't really any footage that I could have given you. Apart from me sitting at the gas station in Bayang and just waiting for more people to get in. But yeah, here we are. First race finished. Third position behind Chess and Raging. And now it's on to the next race. This one thankfully happening on Anson Speedway, which is of course a permanent racetrack, and therefore we don't really have to expect anybody coming by here. We have somebody delivering stuff to the race car factory apparently, but thankfully that's not on the track itself. But yeah, we got even a few more people in here it seems, and also quite a few spectators here, which is nice. So we should be getting started here in a moment. But yeah, that's also something that I wanted to talk about regarding the hosting of the events. I was a bit nervous with the other event coming up. I got everything prepared and all of that. But for me, it's like there are multiple jobs when it comes to the stuff. I, of course, cannot do anything regarding getting the server running, because that's just not anything that I have access to. Chess took care of that, but he couldn't attend the event. But yeah, when it comes to just getting the races in, getting the restrictions set and everything, not a problem. But the thing that I'm really not great at is the whole direction of everything. Just getting people in the boat, maybe advertising the event itself a little bit before it gets started, and just being on top of everything, telling everybody, hey, you're gonna go here next, you're gonna do this and that kind of thing. So usually I'm a bit more happy about just participating, because that's really not my strong suit, doing all the other stuff as well. So I'm glad that Chess is also able to do the second set for this event. And yeah, when it comes to this race right now, as you've seen, there's a bit of carnage going on. Bit of first corner kerfuffle. I started somewhere in the midfield and now I'm pretty much near the end of everybody right here. I'm also not really driving this in the car as I would love it to be for this event. This is actually the Zyno Touring Car Spec Racer from Hoki server. So while it is pretty competitive over here, there are a few things that I would have done differently. For example, this has a 6-speed transmission, and for this race I would rather have 5-speed. But there are also all sorts of weird things happening. You saw the guy doing a kickflip a moment ago. It's just all a matter of weirdness. Anyways, we are now in 7th position with quite a few people right ahead of me, so could potentially make a few overtakes here. If I can get past those other people. Trying to set up for the last turn here. We are doing 6 laps over here, by the way. So quite a few chances to overtake or get overtaken, depending on how this goes. But yeah, I'm trying to somewhat stay away from Takiturno over there because there's a bit of popcorning happening. Also just a major lag moment there. We now got over 50 people on the server and going down to 16 server FPS. This is not amazing. But yeah, I managed to get 2 places here. I don't know what's going on with Shadow over there. Doesn't seem to be part of the event. Yeah, trying to keep my position. The car is a bit under stereo points, so really hard to get the turn right. Also, I should have gotten off the curb a bit earlier. Those curbs are really, they are harsh. But sometimes when the car naturally tries to steer off them, I have to counter steer because it feels like it's about to spin out on me, so gotta be careful regarding that. Now we got Raging in front of me as well, one of the fastest drivers I've ever seen in the game, so yeah, don't think I'll be able to keep up with him. But yeah, I'm still trying to get a better position, but right now there's also at least one person right behind me, so gotta be careful about all of that. Ideally at this point I want Raging and Steam to fight for position, both of them to slow down a little bit, and me maybe being able to capitalize on the whole situation once Raging is ahead of Steam. Because once again I don't think I'll be really battling Raging for anything here, but Steam I could potentially keep up with. I think. I wanna believe. And you can also see on the map that Chess is just running away from everybody else here. Steam just got... yeah, I think he missed the breaking point there. Or got pushed off, I don't know, but yeah, now I'm ahead of Steam, which is exactly what I wanted. We also, I think, we got Shep in front. So that's another position that I could hopefully take if I can drive a bit quicker. But yeah, this car may have not been the best one for the job, at least. And that's something that I did after the race. I made a copy of this. Just bought another one, got the tune copied over, and then just started adjusting it to be more of a car that can be used in this one specifically. I still want to keep the touring car spec around, but I need something for these kind of races as well. This is another one of those kind of event things that I could see myself doing more often because this has been really fun. And I love the variety of cars while still having a somewhat consistent theme between them. Of course, if you look a bit closer, they are all not really in the same performance or age bracket and all of that, but in the game they work out pretty well. But yeah, I'm now in 5th position. Scrum had to pit for some reason. And we are now in the 4th lap, so we are through half of the race already. But at this point I definitely know that the car isn't exactly perfect for the job. So I'm kind of trying to fight it to get around the corners, at least it's not completely oversteer or anything. But understeering can be a bit painful because you just gonna try so hard to make it turn. But yeah, I'm kind of catching up to Shep right now. I got the feeling that he might be on one of those weird laps that just doesn't want to come together. Which is happening to me as well. Sometimes you just have a lap where you don't really get the braking points right, you don't get the turning points to the corners, and it just doesn't really work out, and you lose a lot of time doing that lap, and maybe for the next one you are able to set up a bit better. But yeah, right now I'm getting really close to Shep, and this is another one where I can almost go for the overtake, but it's not quite there yet. So I'm just trying to stay close, try to set up for the last turn and get the speed through there. Could have maybe done a bit more here, but this is not bad. We're also pretty much clear of everybody else, so not too much happening in terms of being able to get another position. Don't know what the guy was doing on the track there. But at least we should be able to not lose positions here. I think this is also now where we get into something really strange. Bit of a lag moment between Shep and me, and I don't know how I managed to span out that way, but it happened. It was highly confusing, and I think this is now what caused me to have an off lap, because that was weird. But yeah, not getting any sort of line through there, not getting any real braking point, and Shep is just driving away from me again. Yeah, I'm not really able to do anything right there. Going back around up to the chicanes in a moment. But Shep is just, yeah, increasing the distance between us, which I think is really hurtful. He should leave me the place, but no. Just driving away from me like I mean nothing. That's just sad state of affairs, but what can you do? Maybe on my part I could have gone through for a better line through those, but yeah, this is where we're at right now. I'm also now looking back because I know that there are quite a few people behind me, and I would rather like them to stay away from me, but yeah. Once again, driving a bit better would have helped that. So yeah, Shep quite far away from me, the people behind me not that far off. So gonna try to at least keep position number 5, which once again overall is not the worst, especially with a race that doesn't really go your way all that much. But yeah, definitely after this event I'm getting a second Zyno for a better setup here. Chess also just finished the race, almost lapped me. There wasn't really that much left for that to happen, but thankfully we didn't have another lap or two to go, because that would have been really embarrassing on my end. People behind me are apparently a bit slower than myself, so I'm not really too much in risk of getting overtaken by them. For some moment it felt like I was even catching up to Shep, but that was likely down to this being a really slow corner. And once you're back on the accelerator, then everything is just gonna stretch out the distance between the cars. But yeah, solid 5th place, I would say. Unless I manage to spin out again, which is not out of options right here. This might still happen. But yeah, I make it through the chicane, just gonna go through the last turn. And you know what, when you are in an understeery car and you don't set up the corner correctly, the car almost automatically wants to go into the pits. It's kinda hilarious. If not absolutely frustrating in a race. But here we are, 5th place. Worked out pretty well. No major issues, but yeah, also didn't go really too well. So we are towards the end of that race, so let's go on to the last one. So the thing is, and I don't think I mentioned this before, initially I wanted to do a race through Gangyang here. That was the initial plan before we had to pivot to the live server. But since Gangyang is always going to be a really busy area, just as busy as the stuff happening there behind me, I decided to try and pitch to this area, the steel mill, which is of course not really that heavily populated. So this is more for trying to avoid issues with the races. I didn't want to really press my luck on the whole thing. The first race went really well, but it's not in that dense of an area, and Gangyang is just... it felt like asking for trouble. While with this race, I mean, yeah, people behind me had a bit of an issue from the get-go. In the first turn, there was a bit of a pile-up, but ever since it's been going pretty well for me at least. Also, funnily enough, I was planning on using the Zyno again, so the car from the last race, and you may have seen it behind me at the start. So what happened was, we had another person who wanted to join, and they didn't have a car, so I said, hey, I can give you my Panther. I was in the Zyno, I pulled up right next to them, they got into the Zyno when I got off the Panther. I was pretty much 50-50 on which car I want to use here, so I just rolled with it. Took the Panther, which is definitely not a bad idea, and they just went with my Zyno instead. Apparently got caught up in the entire first corner carnage there. So they are pretty much out of the race here. But yeah, I would have let them use this one. It was just a bit of miscommunication, and in the end it didn't matter too much apart from me pulling stuff like this again. Very reminiscent of the first race. But yeah, I love some spice with my race cars, so this is nothing too bad. And yeah, despite being more like a reserve track at the end of the day and not being planned to be used in this event, this one worked out really well. I could have maybe gone with another lap. It was maybe one of the shorter races. We could see Mark in my Zyno to the left there. Like the car was completely destroyed. There was no way to really race it anymore, and sadly in the steel mill, while we have our piece from AI traffic and most other players are also not in this area, yeah, if you if you get crashed, if your car gets totaled, there's no repair station anywhere near in order to recover. Yeah, we are coming back around to the end of the lap for the second time here. Got some people somewhere close behind me. We got Wormy and Raging. And Raging is just... Raging is quick, gotta be careful. But yeah, as long as Wormy is keeping him back, I might have a decent chance here. We also got Chess in 5th, and I don't know, there might be a few other people in here that are really fast, but yeah, not everybody shows up to the events on a regular basis, so I can't speak here for everybody's pace. I don't know everybody. But yeah, Raging is now in second position, which might become a little problem for me. Coming back around to the long back straight, which is kind of funny because it's actually moving us further away from the start-finish line, but I really like this section. It's just a nice little breather in between all the tricky corners. Honestly, with this area, it's always a bit tricky trying to get a good layout because it's just 90-degree sharp turns at the end of the day, but depending on the width of the road, combination going from wide road to wide road or wide to narrow, narrow to wide, narrow to narrow, you can have a few different corner profiles here. Also, with some of this stuff, it feels a bit more like chicane of consecutive corners than just two separate ones, which also helps out. But yeah, I took a long time to get any layout here in order to keep it interesting, but this is one of the ones that I really enjoyed, so happy that it worked out for the event. Of course, we also have a slightly longer version, which is what has been used in the semi-truck event recently. Actually, it was supposed to be this version, but Chess took the other one instead. They have very similar names, so yeah, that can happen. And now we can also hear Raging coming up right behind me. This is not amazing for me. I think we are in the 4th of 5 laps. So gotta be careful. Trying to keep a position, but with all the lag and everything, it's really hard to defend, especially against somebody who is just obviously faster than me. I had a little push from him, which kind of upset my car, but nothing too crazy. At least I didn't spin out. But yeah, there was really no way of me keeping the position. I could have maybe tried to go on the outside there, go a bit further, keep the lane occupied, but yeah, it's not always easy getting the line correctly, which is once again one of those fun things for the event. But yeah, Raging is just running away from me without me having much of a say in the matter. Behind me, Vormir and Chessboard are somewhat close, but I might be able to keep them off my tail for the rest of the race if I'm lucky. Should just be one more lap to go, so it's not too long. But here we are coming back into this really fun and tricky little first sector over here. I love the consecutive left turns on the really wide roads and then it narrowing down to a right-hand turn onto this part right here. This is just a really fun section in my opinion. Also for this turn you're really gonna go on the inside there, try to avoid the wall, but getting as close to it as possible without exchanging paint. But yeah, that didn't really happen for me there, so I feel like I'm just slowly losing ground. But at this point it's getting really, really late, so yeah, I blame the time slot for my performance. But I mean, I'm still in second despite it also starting to rain now. But yeah, this feels just like a desperate attempt at trying to get the car towards the finish line by any means possible. It's just, or by any means necessary, it's not really smooth driving anymore. I'm just trying to keep it together for long enough to finally end the event and this race in second place. Which would be my best performance for the night overall, which, I mean, second place is nothing to scoff at. Second, third and fifth, respectively. Maybe not in that order, but it worked out pretty well here. So here we are. Raging in first, me coming in second, and Vormir and Chess right after. Fun set of races, really enjoyed them. Other people seem to do so as well, so expect to see more kind of stuff like this, especially when it comes to slower vehicles, because as long as they are not putting you to sleep, they are often making for the more interesting races. But yeah, next up is gonna be a rally cross event and then the second set of these ones. So hope you enjoyed. Hope you're looking forward to more, because there's gonna be a bit more. And until next time, have a good one and bye bye.